having an exclusive session, Campus to Corporate, what college students need to succeed in corporate world. So let's get started with the next exclusive session. Requesting moderator, Ms. Manpreet Anand, Head Sales, Mid-Market and Key Accountant, Skillsoft to join us on stage. Along with which requesting all the panelists, Mr. Ashish Mittal, Group CHRO, Sreenidhi Educational Group. Requesting Mr. Prakash, Pathak, Head Corporate Relations and Placements, IMT, Hyderabad. Professor R. Prasad, Director, Academic Wing, ICFAI Group. Also requesting Professor S. Zarar, Director, ICBM School of Business Excellence. Requesting all of you to please join us on the stage.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I think the energy in the house has gone down tremendously. Can I have it again? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen here. Thank you so much. You know, there are various advantage and disadvantage, but our disadvantage is we are the last ones. But nevertheless, we will try to make it really interesting for all of you. Campus to Corporate, a journey which we all have gone through, a journey which we all have incorporated and walked the path. Maybe we liked something, we disliked something, but at the end of the day, that remains very, very close to our heart. Our era was different. This era is completely different. Students today are far more smart. They really know what is expected. But as corporates and as academia, are we able to incorporate those gaps or those aspirations which they have? And are we doing justice to it? So we will revolve around this, and let's see what our panelists have to say about it. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. My important first question to all of you, and I would like to give you just a minute to give your thoughts on it. What do you think are the unique challenges which students are facing? I think since morning we have been talking about technology, teachers, pathways, scenarios. But I want to understand from students' aspect what it is that is bothering them. What do they feel should have been done right in order to help them in their journey in corporate? If anyone of you can start.
Good evening. All of you are there listening to all of us. Yeah, the biggest challenge for a student in moving from a campus to industry is the knowledge skill set, because in institutions we teach them academics, and when they reach the job place, the scenario is totally different. There are some practical things which have never been taught to them or they have not been exposed to. So that, I think, is the biggest challenge they have to be groomed into with requisite knowledge of what industry does in practice.
Wonderful,
That
thank
is
you.
what we are looking at.
Perfect. Can I have it from you, sir?
Okay, everyone has to answer. So I have a different this thing. The biggest challenge right now is, we are standing between the bar and the audience. so that I feel is the biggest challenge of people in this room today. But I think, on a more serious note, I think the only thing that I feel students, the challenge that they are facing is corporates are not taking them seriously. And I may elaborate it when, if you give me a chance to speak.
Please go ahead, please go ahead.
No. I think let others look at the question, sure. Maybe. Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep short and sweet. I think today industry wants first day, first hour productivity, 2 minutes Maggie noodles, because most of the companies, clients want immediate deliverables. So we want plug-in and play-out model. We do not have time to train. So I think what is lacking is the students do not have industry exposure. They are not industry ready. They are only having academic exposure, which will not go a long way in terms of the hardcore corporate life. So there has to be the missing element, the training which have to be provided.
I think these are three different worlds where the students come from, institutions and corporate. And they all have their cultures and values. And until we sit down and see how to align this and give greater exposure of one world to the other, this issue will continue to remain and we'll just keep talking about skills.
I completely agree to that. We all have witnessed this, and I think we will witness it even further if we don't take step towards it, in terms of the aspirations and in terms of the expectations. Now, this brings me to a very interesting question. I think this is for you, Professor Zarar. If you could, we have always been talking about internship for students. How about internship for the teachers, for the faculties? How would that incorporate into the scenarios?
Yeah, I think you have touched the right chord. In fact, that's the need of the day. Now, what we are looking as academicians is, like when our students are going for this 2 or 3 months internships to the various corporates, the faculties should also get a chance to go there and learn from the industry background what are the needs. Because teaching a subject in a classroom is quite different. And facing the challenges in the workplace is quite different. So if a faculty goes there, spends about a couple of months there, and in replacement, a manager of that particular organization can come down and take sessions for the students, sharing his practical skills and practical knowledge with the, mixing up with the academics, that will create a greater impact on the mindset of the students. Now, when we talk about, there is a thing called like targets, the challenges where the managers will be facing in their organization. So in an institution, it is not like that. They can come down for a couple of hours, say the sessions, the timetable is designed in such a way that every session ranges from an hour to maximum 2 hours. Beyond that, the retention capacity is not there of a student. Now, the corporate manager from a particular discipline can come down, train the students for that 1 hour or 2 hours, maybe twice in a week, maybe thrice in a week, and then go back to his work. Whereas the faculty who's there from the institution will be absorbing all the practical aspects of the job or the career or the organizational culture, both the formal and informal parts, and then he'll come back more enriched and share with the students what are the skill sets needed. Then I think he'll be in a better frame of mind to deliver the subject with a blend of both industry as well as academia.
Well said. Thank you so much. So I think a food for thought, internship, not just for students, but also for teachers. And I think corporate need to also open up on this and accept them with open arms. This takes me to another important aspect. We have always spoke about skill development. They lack it. They are not corporate ready. But what are those skills? And is it just the hardcore functional skills we are talking about? Or does it incorporate the behavioral, soft skills, their entire personality, which they carry themselves with them when they come to a corporate for job or when they are there in their culture? So my question to Ashish would be, how do you incorporate this behavioral and leadership skills right from the beginning when a student passes out to ensure that they are ready for that corporate journey?
Sure, thank you so much. I'm going to go actually 2 steps back. As per the World Economic Forum's Future of Job Report 2023, it mentions that artificial intelligence, analytical thinking, critical thinking, big data are going to be the top in-demand skills in 2027, along with leadership skills, resilience, curiosity, and lifelong learning. The report also mentions that out of every 10 employees, 6 of them will have to go for upskilling and reskilling by 2027. And of these 6, less than 50% of the workers actually have the right training resources. We all know that, the ChatGPT has taken the world by a storm, right? There's going to be a huge skill set mismatch. We know the Goldman Sachs report, which mentioned that more than 300 million full-time jobs are going to be impacted with generative AIs like ChatGPT, and that's exactly the reason why researchers are going slow on the artificial intelligence part. So when the huge mismatch in the skill set, it is a responsibility of the universities, of the higher education institutions to ensure that our candidates, our graduates have an overall development so that these students are actually, we are preparing them for a long-term success in the labor industry. So it's very important that first of all, academicians themselves undergo through an internship to understand how industry actually functions. And secondly, on-the-job training. It's extremely important. Internships, I mean, the students should be given, like, spend 6 months with the industry folks. Try and understand, because ultimately, bookish knowledge is going to be very less. It's 95% is on-the-job training. So when they actually work in industries, get a first-hand exposure into various aspects, various streams, that's something where they will learn. So I think if these two areas are taken care, if academicians are aligned with industry requirements, curriculum is designed along with the industry requirements, and students have an industry exposure. So I think these three put together will try to, have a better full-fledged, student, full-fledged person, in terms of the overall skill set required.
Thanks, Ashish. Now, this brings me to another important aspect. By 2025, according to World Economic Forum, we will have a gap of 85 million employable resources. Now, that's a huge number, and 2025 is not like 10, 15 years, it's just 2 years from now. Now, if that is the scenario, Mr. Prasad, my question to you is, because of this business disruptions which happen, technology advancements which keeps on changing, like ChatGPT, generative AI, which has taken us all by storm, what are your views on how academia can actually incorporate these changes quickly, swiftly in their curriculums? And also, how do you see students evolving in this journey?
I think in a world of change, it's not skills alone which count. So let me put it in a framework. I call it knowing, doing, being. It's used by the US Army. It's for leadership. And it's as much important that you know how to do as much as you know and as much as you be. So being includes things like character, compassion, etc., which were discussed in some of the earlier forums. But the fact remains that this framework is different for the student set, it's different for the faculty set, and it's different for the industry. So I think institutions need to know both, from both sides. So the exposure level of faculty, I may not call it internship, it can be exposure of various levels. For example, if I'm handling an executive education program, through the eyes of the learner who is a seasoned practitioner, I can understand many things, and I can learn through that too. So there are a number of ways in which this kind of exposure can take place, and I think the institution and the faculty need to look at it far more holistically than they are doing so currently. Mechanisms and specific mechanisms can be worked out based on the institution. So what needs to be done in IIM Ahmedabad is not what needs to be done in an affiliated college in Kakinada. So this can be worked out specifically, but the broad framework is the same.
Thank you. So my next question in continuing this discussion would be for Mr. Prakash. Mr. Prakash, you have been heading the corporate placements. Can you tell me what challenges you face when you interact with corporates, or when you have to bring them to your campus in terms of getting your students deployed? And also, from a student's aspect, what do you think are the challenges which they really want to overcome so that they're ready for those interviews?
Manpreet, I'm sorry I'll disrupt your session. Because see, first thing, we are discussing here campus to corporate skills needed by, or skills which are not there in students to make them succeed in the industry and all. In the first place, I do not agree that current generation has any skills which are not there, which they should possess to succeed. And I have something to say to kind of back that. See, if you look at India, 300 years, last 300 years, see, I'm not talking of pre-British era because that was too, long back. last 300 years, I think we, in terms of growth, in terms of industry, in terms of economy and all, right now, we are, last 10 years, we are at the best period of the last 300 years. And I'm sure all of us, 40 plus, 50 plus and all, cannot take the credit for that. So who does the credit goes to? It goes to the younger generation. I mean, then how can we say what skills they need to succeed? They have already shown that they have succeeded. Maybe we should have a panel discussion of college students who tell us what we could have done better, 20 years ago, so that we would have been better now. Or maybe what we can do better now itself. So, and let me tell you, I have been, last 13 years, I have been into placements and education and all. Energy, the enthusiasm, the dedication, the creativity, the ability to ask questions, ability to question status quo amongst students is very, very high. And tell me, anybody in this room who feels that these are the qualities not sufficient to succeed. These are the only qualities. What else do you require to succeed? Whether it is industry, whether it's sports, whether it is music, these are the qualities. So first of all, our young generation, our college students are quite equipped. Now, two things I would like to say here. Now, what we mean by, what college students would like to, should be having or something like that, there are two things. One is things that they do not have, which we want them to have. Okay. So, see, Ashish, I mean, you talked of generative AI. I mean, I recently saw a 15-year-old kid talking about generative AI. So, what else is required? I mean, these days, this Java developer, 8 standard students use. What else skills do IT companies require? All the IT guys, they do Java development only at the end of the day. Okay. So, what I am trying to say is, the skills that we want to see in them, they may not be there. Okay. Let's say the attention span. We talk of that. We always say, I have kids. I have son 25, daughter 20. I tell them, look, in our times we had lectures 7-8 hours continuous, and we used to still be attentive and all. And you guys, whatever it says, attention span of 30 minutes or whatever. That's what I feel. Google may say even 5 minutes attention span for youngsters these days, but I feel 30 minutes is the maximum attention span. Or maybe, we tell them, look, you guys are an MBA, you don't even know how to write a professional mail. We tell them. But tell me, when we started our career or when we were young, even we didn't know how to write an email. We went to the industry and learned, isn't it? So, what are they missing? They are not missing anything. Nobody is a Abhimanyu to learn in the mother's womb. Everybody does something for the first time. And these guys are also doing it for the first time. And trust me, we took maybe 6 months to learn how to write a professional email. In my time, at least, email was not there, whatever. Professional communication and inter-office memo and all used to be there. These guys learn it in 1 week, 6 days. So isn't that commendable? So and if you talk of attention span, yeah, it is not there. But let me tell you, they have many other qualities. As I said, creativity. So many at IMT Hyderabad every year, and all the institutes here. We have around 100 recruiters coming every year, top recruiters, big 4 consulting companies, big, e-commerce, large e-commerce companies, leading banks. They all hire freshers. If the students are not industry ready, they won't have hired them. So it's just a question of, just one point. It is about industry ready and billable, which I'm sorry, the IT industry has kind of introduced this term. I do not agree the word billable to be used for human resource. But yes, I think billable, any company, anyone, people will take their time to be billable. So I think that is justified. Thank you.
You have a point, Ashish?
Can I add here?
Yeah, please, before I do, you.
60 seconds, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think apart from the hard skills, what it's really, which we can, all of us work really, are ethics, values, systems. Okay? Today we all know, there are so many suicides of students happening in Kota. So many students are committing suicide in Andhra, Telangana. I've seen so many. Just about 2 months back, we had a student who shot a girl in the canteen in one of the residential universities in North India. So I think the emotional quotient is something where the students have to be provided training, because hard skills will anyways be taught. They will learn better than using the chat GPT or using the technology. But trying to have the right ethics, value systems, and also balancing their emotional quotient, that will really help them. That's something I think which needs a lot of work in that area.
So I think you really started a very important discussion. Mr. Prasad, would you like to add something to this before?
Yes, I'd like to build on.
Yeah.
See, one of the reasons why we find young people doing very well is that they are doing something completely new. And a lot of things that we did has not worked, or it won't continue to work in today's environment. So they've come in and done startups. So what can we enable? I think first we need to get out of their way. If you ask me whether it's educational institutions or whether it is organizations, if you give them the freedom and you give them the necessary exposure. Now, how you design the exposure is what education is. So if you are able to do that in a more asynchronous manner, today there is too much of importance given to synchronous learning. That means I have to sit in the class, I have to listen. The teacher will lecture, then I have to, I will develop skills. No, that's not how I develop skills. So internship is one way of developing skills, but how do I give this exposure? At the same time, I aggregate it through education, because some kind of facilitation is needed. So facilitation is the class. So the professor has to be at a different level if they have to facilitate, as they say, sage by the stage and the sage on the stage and guide by the side. To be on a guide by the side is far more difficult than being a sage on stage. So if we institutions know how to get out of the way, but still frame things in such a way that students get the exposure, I think they've already demonstrated through startups that they're quite capable. So it's a question of letting them creatively destroy while retaining the essence of humanity.
Fantastic, thank you. Does anybody from the audience has anything to say? Because I have a lot of points, and this is getting quite interesting, so I'll come out of my questionnaire. Anybody from the audience has to say anything on this point? That they're already ready, the corporates are just creating more hue and cry about it. Is that correct statement to make? Please? Can I have the mic for the gentleman, please?
Good evening, sir. So I completely agree with the Prakash, sir, because in the morning, so many people have said about, in 2025, we're going to become 7 trillion GDP economy. So how it had happened? Because from last 10 or 15 years, there's all youngsters like Prakash, sir, or other people have worked on. And my question to the panel is like, I'm from academia. So, academia corporate is there, like we are thinking, like discussing on that point. See, everything the teacher goes through the books. So how can the corporate can be a chapter in this curriculum? Because again, regulatory body is there, which has to, give the permission to us to put in the curriculum or the books. So this question to me, like question to the people.
Yeah, please take it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we just were discussing about a few minutes ago. Now, when we are talking about the books and the corporate guys, the connect, like I was just sharing a small piece, like we learn in a subject of management, a small thing called as job description. Now, the job description, what we learn according to Flippo or some other top authors, is a specific one which has been carried forward from years. Okay, I think Flippo is more than 40, 50 years old book, and still it is being followed by all HR students. Now, this job description, when you go from the corporate manager, the HR recruiter's point of view, it is totally different. He is looking at a different skill sets than the standard ones which an academician teaches. Now, that is where the confusion comes. Like what you're teaching them in theoretical, practically it is not a viable thing for a corporate to have. Now, this gap can be bridged only when the corporate is visiting some institutions, giving them an idea what they are looking at. When they are looking at some skill set, when we are talking about job ready, Now, job ready means, are they having those, what do you call, mindsets for long hours? Are they prepared to take what do you call, scoldings and all when they are not doing any proper thing? Because they have been groomed like a cocoon. They have been paying lakhs to get that education, and when they drop into the corporate and the first day they are given a thrashing, they feel disgusted. So the skill sets, what the academicians are looking, should be borrowed from the industry, and then they should be blended in the academia.
So just one point over here. I think every education institution should have a panel of industry experts. So if you have that periodical, every quarterly meeting, take those inputs and how academicians, they can integrate this into the regular curriculum. That will actually benefit, be a win-win model. So I want to add this.
Yes.
Thank
There
you.
is a gentleman out there. Can I have the mic for him, please?
One of the panelists has referred to internship for teachers also.
Yeah.
But before that, internship should be given to the authorities and the minister. That's what I strongly feel.
Yes.
Because they are the responsible for all the lapses, for all the mistakes in the education system.
Thank you. You know, you have heard why and how students are really gearing up. They really know everything. But I have a very important point to make. I come from corporate. We hire IT graduates from best of the institutes with 98, 99% marks. When they hit the floor, they can't even talk. They are shy. They are not confident. And when you talk about billable, I think even institutes are working towards billable. Everybody is talking about profitability, otherwise economy of any country will never progress, right? So unless we are billable and we are a resource for the corporates, we will never get that money which we take home, which we call salary. That's important aspect which we need to keep into consideration. And also the fact that today's generation is smarter. When I started my moderation, I said that they are far more smart than what we used to be. And this era is about matching their aspirations to the skill gaps which we see today, and how we can build upon it to build a future which actually can yield result for us and take India from where we are today to maybe position us in the top first countries economically, you know. And you know, by 2027, we would have almost 50–60% of our population working worldwide. So I think in order to make them ready for all these aspects, it is primarily crucial and important that both academia and corporate join hands, design curriculums which are in alignment to what we need today in order to progress, and also from a student aspect, we need to teach them a lot, analytical things. So we have groomed and, you know, spent 25–30 years in this role to be able to stand here and talk like this and bring our experience. Young children don't have that. I also have a teenager at home. They aspire to do many things, but is it ethically correct? Is it the way how we want to progress? How do we channelize their energy is something which I leave you with a thought. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today, and thanks for the audience to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone. Yes. Yes, requesting Ms. Tanya to please present the memento to all the panelists. Can we give them a big round of applause, please?